I met Derek Paulson at a tech networking event in Austin in March 2020. I was a senior software engineer at a fintech company, working on fraud detection algorithms. Derek was doing startup consulting, which I later learned meant he had 3 failed ventures and was looking for his next opportunity. We got to talking about the inefficiencies in small business loan underwriting. Traditional banks took weeks to process applications, required mountains of paperwork, and rejected 80% of applicants. I mentioned I'd been working on an ML model in my spare time that could analyze business financials and predict creditworthiness in real time. Derek's eyes lit up. That's $1 billion idea. We should build that. I am building it, I said. I have a working prototype. But do you have business connections? Do you know how to pitch VCS? Do you have sales experience? Derek leaned forward. I've raised money before. I know investors. I can get us in front of the right people. You build the tech, I'll build the business. 50-50 partners. I was 28 and tired of working for someone else. The idea of having a co-founder who could handle the business side while I focused on engineering was appealing. We met for coffee 3 more times, discussing the vision, the market opportunity, the potential. On April 15, 2020, we signed a founding agreement. Equal equity split. Derek would be CEO, handling fundraising and business development. I would be CTO, handling all technical development. The company was called Apex Lending Technologies. I should have done more due diligence on Derek's previous successes. I started coding full-time in May 2020. Derek said he was working on the pitch deck and investor outreach. I set up our entire technical infrastructure, GitHub repository, AWS cloud environment, development pipeline, security protocols. I initialized the first commit on May 3, 2020, at 9:47 a.m. The product was complex. It needed to integrate with multiple data sources, bank accounts, accounting software, credit bureaus, and analyze thousands of data points to assess lending risk. I built the entire back-end architecture, API endpoints, database schemas, authentication systems, data processing pipelines. Every morning, I'd start coding at 7 a.m. I'd work until 7 p.m., sometimes later. I documented everything meticulously because that's how I'd been trained as an engineer. Every feature went into a separate branch. Every pull request included detailed descriptions of what I was building and why. Every commit message explained the changes. Derek would check in every few days. How's it going? When will we have something to demo? I'd show him progress, explain the technical architecture, walk him through features. He'd nod enthusiastically and say he was lining up investor meetings. By September 2020, I had a working MVP. The platform could connect to business bank accounts, pull transaction data, analyze cash flow patterns, and generate creditworthiness scores with 87% accuracy. I'd written the entire codebase, 3,476 lines of Python, JavaScript, and SQL. Derek finally scheduled our first investor pitch for October. I prepared a technical demo. Derek prepared slides about market opportunity and growth projections. The meeting went well. Investors were impressed by the technology, but they didn't commit. They want to see traction, Derek explained. We need to sign up some lenders, process some actual loans. I spent the next 4 months building out the customer-facing features, the lender dashboard, the compliance reporting tools. Derek said he was doing business development, talking to potential lender partners. I rarely saw evidence of these conversations. In March 2021, we finally signed our first client, a small community bank in Texas, willing to pilot our platform. I integrated their systems, trained their staff, and supported the launch. Within 2 months, they were processing loan applications 10x faster with a 40% approval rate increase. Success with one client led to others. By December 2021, we had 12 lender clients, processing $8 million in loans monthly. The technology worked flawlessly. I was handling all technical support, all feature development, all infrastructure maintenance. Derek was supposedly handling sales and client relationships. Our GitHub repository told a clear story. I had made 847 commits. Derek had made 23 mostly minor text changes to README files and documentation. I built every feature. I fixed every bug. I optimized every algorithm. But when Derek talked to clients or investors, it was always, we built this, or our technology. I didn't mind initially. We were partners. That's what partnership means. I should have paid more attention to how the story was shifting. By mid-2022, Apex Lending Technologies was processing $25 million in loans monthly. Our clients loved the platform. We had 18 lender partners and a waiting list of others wanting to join. Revenue was approaching $2 million annually. Derek started talking about fundraising. We need capital to scale. I've been talking to some VCs. They're interested. I focused on keeping the platform running and adding features clients requested. Derek traveled frequently investor meetings in San Francisco, conferences in New York, client dinners in Dallas. When he returned, he'd talk about the interest we were generating, the term sheets that were almost ready. Money was getting tight. We'd been bootstrapped, paying ourselves minimal salaries. I mentioned we should probably raise some capital soon, or the company would struggle. I'm handling it, Derek said. Trust me, I know what I'm doing. In September 2022, Derek announced we'd received a term sheet from a venture capital firm, $5 million at a $25 million valuation. But there was a catch. The term sheet gave Derek additional founder shares, adjusting the equity split to 60-40 in his favor. It's standard, Derek explained. VCs want the CEO to have majority control for decision-making efficiency. You'll still own a huge chunk of a much more valuable company. Something felt wrong. But I didn't have experience with VC deals. I consulted with a startup attorney, Jennifer Walsh, who reviewed the term sheet. This is unusual, Jennifer said carefully. Diluting a technical co-founder who built the entire product is a red flag. Why does Derek deserve more equity? He's been handling all the business development, I said. Though even as I said it, I wasn't entirely sure what that meant. Has he? Jennifer asked. How many clients has he personally signed? How many investor relationships has he developed? I realized I didn't actually know. I'd been so focused on building that I hadn't been tracking Derek's contributions. Jennifer advised me to request detailed documentation of Derek's work before agreeing to any equity changes. When I asked Derek for documentation of his business development activities, he was offended. Are you seriously questioning my contributions? I've been building this business while you've been coding. I've been in every client meeting, every investor pitch. I'm the face of this company. I'm not questioning your contributions, I said. I just want to understand the equity adjustment before I agree. Derek's expression hardened. Maybe I need to find a CTO who's more aligned with the company's growth trajectory. The threat was clear. I backed down and signed the modified agreement. The VC money came through in November 2022. My equity dropped to 40%. Derek now controlled the company. Things changed after the funding. Derek hired a VP of sales and a VP of marketing. He rented expensive office space in downtown Austin. He started traveling first class. Meanwhile, I was still the only engineer, working 70-hour weeks to keep the platform running while supporting 18 clients. I asked Derek about hiring more engineers to help scale the technical team. We need to focus on growth first, he said. Engineering can wait. But growth meant more clients, which meant more technical work for me alone. By March 2023, I was burning out. I was handling 24/7 on-call support, building new features, managing infrastructure, and fixing bugs. Derek was doing podcast interviews about his journey as a founder. In April 2023, Derek mentioned he'd been having conversations with some larger companies interested in acquiring us. Just exploratory, he said. But it's good to know our options. I didn't think much of it. I was too exhausted to think about anything except keeping the platform running. On July 18, 2023, Derek called an emergency board meeting. The board consisted of Derek, me, and 2 VC representatives. Derek announced that Tech Giant Financial, a major fintech company, had made an acquisition offer, $12 million in cash. This is an incredible opportunity, Derek said. They want our technology and our client base. They're offering to keep the team and scale the platform with their resources. The VC board members were enthusiastic. They'd invested $5 million 18 months ago and would triple their money. I had questions about the deal terms, my role post-acquisition, and the technology transition plan. We'll work out those details, Derek assured me. The important thing is that we VA built something valuable enough to attract this kind of offer. The acquisition closed on August 15, 2023. It happened faster than I expected. Derek handled all negotiations. I was asked to sign paperwork but wasn't included in strategic discussions. When I asked about my role post-acquisition, Derek said Tech Giant would figure out the team structure. The press release went out on August 16th. Bloomberg, TechCrunch, and the Austin Business Journal all covered the story. Every article quoted Derek extensively. Bloomberg's headline, "Serial entrepreneur Derek Paulson sells lending platform to tech giant for $12 million. The article featured Derek's photo and a lengthy quote, "I am proud of what I built with Apex Lending Technologies. We saw an opportunity to revolutionize small business lending, and we executed on that vision. This acquisition validates the platform I created and the market transformation we've achieved." No mention of me. No mention of a co-founder. No mention of the person who wrote every line of code. I read the article 3 times, feeling sick. My phone buzzed with messages from former colleagues. "Congrats on the exit. Didn't know you'd sold the company." Derek's giving interviews everywhere. I pulled up Derek's Twitter. He'd been tweeting all day about his successful exit, his journey as a founder, his platform that had attracted acquisition interest. In the comments, people were congratulating him on building something remarkable. I opened LinkedIn. Derek had updated his headline. Founder and CEO successfully exited to tech giant financial. His post about the acquisition had 2,000 likes. More congratulations. More praise for his vision and execution. Not one mention of me in any of it. I sat at my desk, staring at my computer. Then I opened our GitHub repository and looked at the commit history. 3 years of work. 847 commits. 3,476 lines of code that powered a platform processing $40 million in loans monthly. 847 commits by me. 23 minor commits by Derek. I had built everything, and Derek had sold his startup for $12 million, while writing me out of the story completely. I didn't argue. I'd already contacted Jennifer Walsh, my attorney. Jennifer Walsh's office was in downtown Austin, 20 minutes from my apartment. I arrived on August 17th with my laptop and 3 years of documentation. "Tell me what happened," Jennifer said. I walked her through everything. The founding agreement with equal equity splits, the VC deal that had diluted me to 40%, the acquisition where Derek took sole credit. Then I opened my laptop. "I want to show you something." I pulled up our GitHub repository. This is the complete development history of Apex Lending Technologies. Every line of code, every feature, every bug fix, every technical decision, all documented in version control. Jennifer leaned forward. "Walk me through it." I showed her the commit history, GitHub tracks, who wrote what code and when. "See these green commits? Those are mine. 847 total commits over 3 years. These occasional blue ones, those are Derek's 23 commits total." I clicked on Derek's commits. Let's look at what he actually contributed. His commits were revealing. Most were README file updates or documentation changes. A few were configuration file modifications. Not a single commit showed actual feature development or core platform functionality. "Now look at this," I said, opening one of Derek's few code commits. It was a 15-line function for calculating interest rates. This commit is from June 2021. Derek added this function. I opened a code analysis tool. This tool checks for code plagiarism and identifies copied code. Watch what happens when I run Derek's commit through it. The tool flagged the entire function. It was copied line for line from a Stack Overflow answer posted in 2019. Derek had copied someone else's code, pasted it into our repository, and committed it under his name. "He plagiarized code?" Jennifer asked. "It gets worse." I ran analysis on all 23 of Derek's commits. 14 were simple text file changes. 9 contained actual code. Of those 9, 7 were copied directly from Stack Overflow, GitHub public repositories, or documentation examples. 2 were so trivial, changing variable names or fixing typos, that they barely qualified as contributions. So his total technical contribution was, functionally, 0, I said. He copy-pasted other people's code 9 times. That's it. I built the entire platform. I opened another document. Every architectural decision, every feature specification, every technical design, I documented them in pull requests with detailed explanations. "Look at this." I showed her my pull request history. Hundreds of PRs, each with comprehensive descriptions. PR number 156. Implementing Machine Learning Credit Risk Model. This PR adds the core ML algorithm for analyzing business financials. using gradient boosting classifier trained on historical loan performance data. Feature engineering includes 47 variables extracted from transaction history, accounting ratios, and industry benchmarks. Model achieves 87% accuracy in validation testing. PR number 203, adding real-time fraud detection. This PR implements anomaly detection algorithms to flag suspicious loan applications, using isolation forest algorithm to identify outliers based on application patterns. System can process applications in 200 MIs while maintaining accuracy. PR number A, scaling infrastructure for 10x growth. This PR refactors the database architecture and implements caching layers to support projected growth from 12 to 100 plus lender partners. Includes load testing documentation, showing system can handle 1,000 concurrent loan applications. Jennifer read through several PRs. This is incredibly detailed documentation. That's standard engineering practice, I said. Good developers document their work. Every technical decision I made has a paper trail explaining why I made it and how it works. I pulled up another document. I also have all our Slack messages, every conversation, every technical discussion, every time Derek asked me how something worked. The Slack history was damning. Message after message showed me explaining technical concepts to Derek. Derek, how does the risk scoring actually work? Me. The ML model analyzes 47 different features from the business data cash flow patterns, expense ratios, seasonal variations, etc. I trained it on historical loan data from the FDIC, currently achieving 87% accuracy. Derek, can you explain the architecture again? Investor wants to know. Me, sure. Front-end in React, back-end in Python using FastAPI PostgreSQL database. Hosted on AWS, I built a microservices architecture so we can scale individual components independently. Derek, what's our security setup? Me, I implemented OAuth to authentication, encrypted data at rest and in transit, regular security audits, and GDPR compliance features, all documented in the security specs I sent you last month. Every technical conversation showed the same pattern. Derek asking questions, me explaining how I'd built things. He didn't understand his own platform, Jennifer observed. Because he didn't build it, I said, I did. I showed her the founding agreement we'd signed in April 2020, clearly stating 50-50 equity split and listing me as co-founder and CTO. Then, I showed her the VC agreement from November 2022 that had diluted me to 40%. The dilution agreement bothers me, Jennifer said. Did Derek provide justification for why he deserved more equity? He said it was standard for CEOs to have majority control. It's not standard to dilute a co-founder who built the entire product, Jennifer said flatly. She reviewed the acquisition agreement. The sale agreement lists Derek as founder and CEO but describes you only as Chief Technology Officer. No mention of co-founder status. That's why I'm here, I said. Derek sold the company, took full credit publicly, and tried to erase my role as co-founder. But I have 3 years of documentation proving I built everything. Jennifer was quiet for a moment. What outcome do you want? I want what I'm owed under our original founding agreement. Derek sold a company I built. I should have received 50% of the sale proceeds, not 40%. I want the difference, $1.2 million. I also want a public correction of the record. I'm not going to let him tell the world he built something I created. Then we file immediately, Jennifer said, for breach of the founding agreement, fraud, and misappropriation of intellectual property. With this documentation, we'll win. The question is, how much additional damages we can secure for his fraudulent conduct. She looked at me seriously. But I need to warn you. There's something else we should investigate. The buyer, tech giant Financial. They conducted due diligence before the acquisition. If Derek misrepresented his role in building the platform during that due diligence process, tech giant might have a fraud claim against him, and they might be very interested in talking to the person who actually built what they bought. Jennifer filed our lawsuit on August 28, 2023, alleging breach of contract, fraud, and misappropriation of intellectual property. We sued both Derek personally and Apex Lending Technologies. But Jennifer also did something clever. She contacted tech giant Financial's legal department and informed them that there were material misrepresentations in the acquisition regarding the platform's development and true authorship. Tech giant's response was immediate. Their head of M&A, Richard Chen, called Jennifer within 2 hours. We'd like to understand these allegations, Richard said carefully. Our due diligence indicated Derek Paulson was the primary developer and creator of the Apex platform. That's incorrect, Jennifer said. My client, Marcus Reed, built the entire platform. We have comprehensive documentation proving this. There was a pause. We'd like to see that documentation. Jennifer and I met with TechGiant's legal team and their technical due diligence consultants on September 8th. We brought everything: the GitHub repository, commit history, pull request documentation, Slack messages, founding agreement, code analysis, proving Derek's plagiarism. Richard Chen sat across from us with 3 attorneys and 2 technical consultants. One consultant was Dr. Amy Liu, a software forensics expert who specialized in code authorship analysis. Walk us through the repository, Dr. Liu said. I opened our GitHub account and displayed the full commit history on the conference room screen. This repository contains the entire Apex Lending Technologies platform. 847 commits by me over 3 years, 23 commits by Derek Paulson. I clicked through my commits, showing the progression: initial repository setup, core architecture, authentication system, database schemas, ML algorithms, API endpoints, front-end interface, client integrations. Every major component was authored by me, documented in detail, with commit messages explaining the work. Then I clicked through Derek's commits. Dr. Liu examined each one carefully. These commits, she said, pointing at Derek's code contributions, they're all either configuration changes or very small code additions. Correct, I said. And most of the actual code he committed was plagiarized. I demonstrated the plagiarism analysis, showing how Derek's code matched Stack Overflow answers and public repositories word forward. Dr. Liu's expression grew increasingly grim. During due diligence, Richard Chen said carefully, Mr. Paulson represented himself as the platform's primary architect and developer. He provided technical presentations explaining the system architecture. Using information I gave him, I said, I pulled up the Slack messages showing Derek asking me to explain the architecture before investor and client meetings. He'd ask me how things worked. I'd explain it. Then he'd present my explanations as his own knowledge. Richard looked at his legal team. What did our technical due diligence actually verify? One attorney checked his notes. Paulson provided architecture documentation, technical specifications, and API documentation. He explained the system design in detail. Our consultants found his explanations credible and comprehensive because they were my documents and my explanations, I said. I opened our Google Drive. Every technical document was created by me. Look at the revision history. I pulled up the architecture documentation Derek had provided to TechGiant. Google Drive showed complete revision history. Document created by Marcus Reed on June 15, 2020. Edited entirely by Marcus Reed through 37 revisions. Last viewed by Derek Paulson on July 10, 2023, 1 week before the acquisition announcement. He didn't write any of this, I said. He downloaded documents I created and presented them as his work. Dr. Liu was running her own analysis on the codebase. Mr. Reed, I'm analyzing code complexity and authorship patterns. Your commits show consistent coding style, advanced algorithm implementations, and sophisticated architecture decisions. Mr. Paulson's commits show basic syntax and copy-pasted code. These are clearly 2 very different levels of technical capability. She pulled up a detailed report. Based on code analysis, Mr. Reed authored approximately 99.7% of the functional codebase. Mr. Paulson's contributions amount to roughly 0.3%, and even that is largely plagiarized from public sources. The room was silent. Richard Chen looked at Derek's technical presentation documents, then at me. Mr. Reed, during your time at Apex, did you have any indication that Mr. Paulson was misrepresenting his role? It happened gradually, I said. Early on, it was, we built this. Then it became our technology. Then, in investor pitches and client meetings, it shifted to I developed and I created. By the time of acquisition discussions, he was taking sole credit. But I didn't realize how completely he de-erased my contributions until I saw the press coverage. Richard turned to his legal team. What are our options? If Paulson knowingly misrepresented his role in developing the platform during due diligence, that's acquisition fraud, one attorney said. We have grounds to void the acquisition or seek damages. The misrepresentation is material. We bought this company specifically for its technology and technical capabilities. Richard looked at me. Mr. Reed, would you be willing to provide expert consultation on the platform you built? We need to understand exactly what we acquired and who actually created it. Of course, I said. Jennifer spoke up. My client is also pursuing legal action against Mr. Paulson for breach of contract and fraud. Given what we've discussed today, I believe Tech Giant may want to coordinate with our case. Agreed, Richard said. We'll be filing our own action against Paulson for acquisition fraud. And Mr. Reed, we'd like to discuss bringing you on as a technical advisor or potentially a full-time role to help us understand and maintain the platform you created. Derek's deposition took place on October 15, 2023. He arrived with 3 attorneys from a firm specializing in business litigation. He looked confident, wearing an expensive suit and carrying a leather portfolio. Jennifer began with basic questions, establishing timeline and roles. Then she shifted to technical matters. Mr. Paulson, you've publicly stated you built Apex Lending Technologies. Can you describe the technical architecture of the platform? Derek launched into an explanation. My explanation. The one I'd written in documentation and told him dozens of times. He was articulate and detailed. And you personally designed this architecture? Jennifer asked. Yes, I designed the overall system and technical approach. Jennifer pulled up a document on the screen. This is the architecture specification document dated June 15, 2020. According to Google Drive metadata, this document was created and edited entirely by Marcus Reed. You never edited this document. How did you design an architecture you never documented? Derek hesitated. Marcus handled the documentation while I focused on the strategic design. I see. Let's talk about specific technical implementations. Can you explain how the machine learning credit risk model works? Derek began explaining again, using my words. Jennifer let him talk for several minutes. Then she pulled up GitHub commit number 287. This commit, dated September 2020, implements the ML model you just described. The commit is authored by Marcus Reed. The commit message reads, and I quote, implementing gradient boosting classifier for credit risk assessment, feature engineering from 47 transaction variables, 87% accuracy achieved in validation. Did you write this commit? Marcus implemented my design, Derek said. That's not what I asked. Did you write this code? No. Did you contribute to the code in any way? I provided strategic direction. Jennifer pulled up the Slack conversation from September 2020. This message thread shows Marcos explaining the ML model to you because you asked how it worked. If you designed this model, why did you need Marcus to explain it to you? Derek's attorneys objected, but the damage was done. Jennifer systematically went through every technical component: the database, architecture, the API design, the fraud detection algorithms, the client integration system. Every component was documented in my commits with my detailed explanations. Derek couldn't explain how any of them actually worked. Then Jennifer showed the plagiarism analysis. Mr. Paulson, you made 23 commits to the Apex repository. 9 of these commits contained code. We've analyzed those code contributions. 7 of the 9 were copied verbatim from Stack Overflow or public repositories. Were you aware that copying code without attribution violates software licensing and GitHub's terms of service? Derek went pale. That's standard practice. All developers reference public code. Referencing and plagiarizing are different, Jennifer said calmly. Did you write any original code for the Apex platform? Silence. Mr. Paulson, during Tech Giant Financial's due diligence process, did you represent yourself as the primary developer of the platform? I was the CEO and technical co-founder. That's not what I asked. Did you tell Tech Giant you personally developed the platform's technology? Derek's lead attorney tried to intervene, but Derek answered, I led the technical development. Jennifer showed the video from Derek's technical presentation to Tech Giant's due diligence team. In the video, Derek confidently explained the platform architecture, the ML algorithms, the security implementations, all described in language that matched my documentation word for word. Mr. Paulson, in this presentation, you state, I built this architecture to scale efficiently. You used the first person singular, I built this. Were you claiming personal credit for building the platform? I was speaking as CEO representing the company, but Marcus Reed built the platform, didn't he? He was part of the team. a team of two, where he wrote 99.7% of the code and you wrote 0.3%, most of which was plagiarized from public sources. Derek had no answer. The deposition lasted 6 hours. By the end, Derek's attorneys looked defeated. Jennifer had systematically proven that Derek had contributed virtually nothing technically while taking complete credit publicly. And during the acquisition process, Tech Giant's deposition of Derek, held the following week, was even worse. Their attorneys had the plagiarism analysis, the GitHub history, and Dr. Luyu's forensic code authorship report. They proved Derek had committed acquisition fraud by misrepresenting his role in developing the platform they'd bought. The legal proceedings moved quickly once the evidence was clear. Derek's fraud was so well documented that his attorneys advised settlement rather than trial. The settlement negotiations involved 3 parties: my lawsuit against Derek, Tech Giant's lawsuit against Derek, and the acquisition agreement that needed to be restructured. On December 1, 2023, we reached a comprehensive settlement. First, the original founding agreement was enforced. Derek was required to pay me $1.2 million, the difference between the 40% ID received and the 50% I was owed under our founding contract. Second, Tech Giant's acquisition of Apex was restructured. The purchase price was reduced from $12 million to $8 million due to Derek's fraudulent misrepresentation. Derek was required to return $4 million to Tech Giant. Third, Derek was required to issue public corrections. He posted on LinkedIn, Twitter, and sent statements to Bloomberg, TechCrunch, and the Austin Business Journal, acknowledging that Marcus Reed had built the Apex Lending Technologies platform and that his previous statements, taking sole credit, were inaccurate. The corrections were humiliating for Derek. His LinkedIn post: "I want to clarify inaccurate statements I made regarding Apex Lending Technologies. Marcus Reed was the co-founder and technical architect who built the platform. My previous claims of having personally developed the technology were incorrect. I apologize for these misrepresentations." Fourth, criminal implications. While we pursued civil remedies, the Travis County District Attorney's Office opened an investigation into Derek's conduct. Acquisition fraud involving millions of dollars potentially constituted criminal fraud. Derek ultimately wasn't prosecuted, but the investigation hung over him for months. Fifth, professional consequences. The story spread quickly through Austin's tech community. Derek's reputation was destroyed. Other founders came forward with stories of Derek exaggerating his contributions to previous ventures. He became a cautionary tale about taking credit for others' work. Tech Giant offered me a position as principal engineer with a generous salary and equity package. They wanted the person who'd actually built the platform to help them integrate and scale it. I accepted. The platform I built is now processing over $200 million in loans monthly, helping thousands of small businesses access capital faster. Tech Giant invested in expanding the technology with a full engineering team. We've added features I'd only dreamed about when I was building everything alone. The most satisfying moment came in March 2024, 6 months after the settlement. I was speaking at a software engineering conference in San Francisco about building scalable fintech platforms. The talk focused on architectural decisions, technical challenges, and lessons learned from Apex. During the Q&A, someone asked, "What advice would you give about working with non-technical co-founders?" I thought about Derek, about 3 years of building while he took credit, about the Bloomberg article that called him a serial entrepreneur who'd built something remarkable, about how close he'd come to completely erasing my role. "Document everything," I said. "Use version control religiously. Write detailed, commit messages. Document your technical decisions in pull requests. Save your communications. If you're the one building the technology, make sure there's an undeniable record of your work." I paused. "And if you have a co-founder, make sure your contributions are explicitly recognized in founding documents, equity agreements, and public communications. Don't assume credit will be given fairly. Protect yourself with documentation." The audience applauded. After the talk, several engineers approached me with their own stories of having work stolen or credit misappropriated. I gave them Jennifer's contact information. One young developer asked, "How did you stay motivated to keep building when your partner wasn't contributing?" "I didn't build it for him," I said. "I built it because the technology was important. Small businesses deserve better access to capital." The loan underwriting process was broken, and I knew I could fix it. Derek's betrayal was painful, but it didn't change the fact that the platform mattered. That's the truth I keep coming back to. The platform I built is helping real businesses get real funding. The technology works. The code is clean. The architecture scales. Derek tried to steal credit for work he didn't do. He failed because I documented everything. But more importantly, the platform succeeded because I focused on building something valuable, not on who got credit. Though I have to admit, getting proper credit feels pretty good too. The Git history doesn't lie. 847 commits. 3,476 lines of code. Every feature, every algorithm, every architectural decision documented with timestamps and authorship. Derek contributed 23 commits, most of them plagiarized from Stack Overflow. The record is clear. The truth is preserved. And the platform that was almost stolen is now helping thousands of small businesses thrive. That's vindication.